I started building this desk in August of 2021, and it's still not done. I hate this desk. I've lost all interest in working on it, and I really want it out of my shop. But I need to finish it first. There's just one problem standing in my way, and that problem is perfectionism. There's this Modern Wisdom podcast quote that I've had ringing around inside my head for the last several weeks, and it couldn't be more spot on for this project. And that is, perfectionism is procrastination masquerading as quality control. I started building this desk 2 years ago without a plan. Having to shorten it because I didn't have enough cut capacity on the side of my table saw. My lack of a plan led to indecision and procrastination, which caused me to more or less abandon this build. The only design feature I was set on was all plywood construction, and half-lap dado rabbit-like joints consistent throughout. And probably the most important thing I didn't do was set a realistic expectation of how this desk should turn out. Okay, I really want to finish this desk, but first, let's rewind to August of 2021 so I can show you exactly what I mean about half-lap joints and how they work. The idea behind them is to create a strong connection using glue and precise cuts. We'll call this method the half-half-half technique. Now, what's fascinating about this approach is how you set up the saw. You use a dado blade and you make it as wide as half the thickness of the wood you're using. At the same time, the height of the blade sticking up from the saw table matches that width. You also position the saw fence at the same distance from the blade as its height above the table. So, if your plywood is 18 millimeters thick, you make your cuts 9 millimeters deep, 9 millimeters wide. In inches, that's about 0.354 of an inch or 11/32. Now, if you do all of this correctly, you only have to set the saw up once and you can do all your joint cuts at the same time. I think it's a good time to mention, in case it's not painfully obvious, that I'm not a professional furniture maker. I'm just a guy that likes to challenge himself and learn new things. And sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, thinking I can wing it on a project when maybe I don't quite have enough experience to be able to do that without formulating a really good plan first. The original plan was I was going to do 5 drawers across this, but I've actually ended up having to shorten it because I didn't have enough cut capacity on the side of my table saw. I started with one idea and then I quickly had to change it and then change it again. Because I didn't have a plan, I was guessing where to put my separations for my drawers. I'd say I got lucky. I'll see if I can do it again. I was making things up as I was going, and because of that uncertainty, it started taking a lot longer than I thought it should. I was focusing on the finished product and not appreciating the process, which led me to rushing through steps. And as a result, any hiccup I encountered detracted from the enjoyment of what I was doing. One thing I really wanted to incorporate into this was a charging port built into the desktop. I got this USB power bar and started building a simple box to house it in. The clean look of a charging port in a desk satisfies my OCD. I don't want to see messy cables, and I hate having devices charging at outlets all over the house. I like plywood furniture, and I'm a fan of minimalist design. I've been on a mission to build all the furniture in my house. And this desk is for my daughter, although at the rate I've been moving, she might be moved out of the house before I finish it. The charging port is in the middle of the desk, but I want the cables hidden, so I'm putting holes to run wires inside the desk. And they will exit on either side of the desk, hidden behind the towers that the desktop sits on. There's a Japanese philosophy called wabsai. This is the art of finding joy in imperfection. This concept is something I really struggle with, but I need to accept. On the rare occasions that I do let go, I find I'm much more satisfied with whatever project I'm working on. I should not lose sight of the fact that most of the techniques I'm using on this build are my first time doing them, and that is unrealistic to expect a flawless result on my first attempt at anything. The half-lap method I'm utilizing everywhere on this build, I had never tried before this, and I learned a lot in the process, and one of the big mistakes I made was in lockstep with my procrastination, and that was not actually performing all of the cuts for a section in one go. I picked up and put down this project so many times over the 2 years that I had to reset the table saw several times, and that produced inconsistencies in my joints. This then snowballed into frustration and perpetuated my loss of interest in this project. There's a difficulty level within any project that if we hit correctly, we will stay engaged. Too easy and we lose interest. Too difficult and we feel overwhelmed and just give up. A project should be just challenging enough to force us to think and grow, and I know for myself that if I get this formula right, I cannot pull myself away from completing the task. I think this desk was slightly outside of that delicate balance for me. One new to me aspect of this build was incorporating undermount drawer slides with the drawers. With this being my first attempt at installing these slides, they got progressively better as I went. They didn't turn out as good as I had hoped, but in the end they open and close smooth, they sit flush and appear even to the eye, which is all I want. So now that you're up to speed on the desk, let me show you what's left to do, starting with these. Feet. Shelves. Drawer fronts. Cupboard doors. And then something to cover this hole. Part of me hates this desk, and I never want to see it again. But the truth, when I really think about it, is I hate myself for taking so long to finish it. I lost focus on what's important. Things like the thrill of making something new, bringing an idea from conception to completion, and the fulfillment of completing a project are all important aspects that should not be overlooked. Valuable lessons I learned while making this are to focus on the process, not the outcome. Let go of the idea of perfection, and that skill building is developing a healthy relationship with failure. Struggling with results that are less than perfect when my knowledge and skill level don't meet the demand of my ugly ambition are a demon I have yet to fully overcome, but life is a work in progress.